Hi there, my name is Aaron Short. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Cheers, everyone. It feels early today. I need a sip of my sound hole sniffer. There's one more. That's better. Very good. That's not coffee, that's just tea. I already had my coffee today. Look who's here. Poo Ninja's here. Now, I want to say, Poo Ninja, I saw your stream earlier, and I'm even more confused than I normally am, because you were live playing the guitar, which sounded great, by the way. I guess that was your rev generator, right? You were playing the guitar, but then Poo Ninja left a comment. Mind you, I guess I do that as well, don't I? I guess while I'm talking, I may do something like this. So does that mean there's two Aaron Shorts? No, because you saw me pause to do it. When you were playing the guitar today, there was no pause. You were playing the guitar and suddenly this message appeared from Poo Ninja. So the question for the chat today is, how many Poo Ninjas are there? I'll let you ponder that while I say hi to David Belcher. Good morning, everyone. Or good morning or afternoon. It's 1 o'clock here. It sounds like I just woke up, doesn't it? I actually woke up at 9 today. But Lee's got a great t-shirt on. Lee, where would I purchase one of those t-shirts you're wearing? Love that. I don't love the way you call me Aaron. Actually, I'm over it now. I don't really care anymore. Because once you tell people you care, they won't stop doing it, right? Rosanna says, hi, Aaron, and everyone in the chat. Happy. Are you happy today? So I got loads of news to talk about. I'm going to get straight into it. Loads of new things are coming. And a lot of software. You know, sometimes I'm down on software updates. Well, this week, a bunch of them have landed at once. So I'm going to get started straight away. I'm going to share my screen and show you the first piece of news of the week. And I think there's some cool things happening. I'll give you my opinion on it. You can give me your opinion in the chat or in the comments if you're watching the replay. So here's the first thing. The Quad Cortex. Okay, a lot of people are down on this for not being as up-to-date as they want it to be. And I'm one of those as well, I'll admit. Yeah, it needs a looper. It needs a hybrid mode. They're the two things that I'm really missing. My dream features are things like vocal harmonies and effects for singers, because I'm a singer. But they have been doing work. They have been updating their app on iOS, and they have been doing some work here. This is coming out soon, 1.2.2. And what it means is right now, if you download a preset from the cloud, which is a cool feature, by the way, if you download a preset from the cloud right now, you have to download the preset and also the capture of the amplifier as well. This new bundle thing will mean everything comes down at once. So you download a preset and it includes the amplifier sounds as well. They've also released a desktop version for the web, so you can access it from your computer. I presume this means they're working towards a store. And they have said this week as well online that they are working towards a store. I'm sure this is all part of it. And I think that's great. I've said on here I have mixed feelings about buying presets and captures of amps and things like that. I love this product because you can capture your own amps. Of course, that means you have to own the amp yourself. My thing is I've spent a lot of money on presets for the Helix and Kemper profiles in the past, and I feel like I never used them. What I'd like to see with this is a way to preview the sound before you buy it. I've got no problem with people making paid presets and captures of amplifiers, but I want to make sure I can try it with my speakers and my guitar before I purchase it. So I really hope when they do release this store, there's a way that you can try the sound and then buy it. That would be great. That would be really great. But I'm really glad that they seem to be moving forward with this thing, and I wish them all the best with it. And yes, there's a few features that are missing that I want to see, but it seems like they're releasing a new update every week, and that's all you can really ask for. I think they're doing a good job. So I shall keep my eye on that, and that should be out this week. If you own one of these, you can download the update over the air. So that's cool. And then speaking of more firmware, another pedal I'm often down on quite a bit is the Aeros Looper, because there's so many features missing that I want. Well, they've just announced there's a new update coming. They've redone the whole MIDI engine of this thing. So now you can control it with a MIDI pedal like the Morningstar MC8. They have their own MIDI pedal at Singular Sound. I don't use that one. I love the MC8. I would use that. And now you can use that to do all these MIDI controls And they've got a whole list of them here. So you can basically set up the MIDI controller to do everything. Record, play, overdub, clear a song, which is huge. That was really important. Select different songs. So you can have different songs stored and scroll through them. So with these settings now, you should be able to program all that stuff. That was a big thing that was missing for me, and they've released it. Well, it's in beta. It will be on over the air. Again, these pedals are both great because you can actually update the firmware over Wi-Fi. And that's the future. Very simple to do. So that's really good too. There's still a feature missing from the Aeros that I want to see before I really recommend it, which is loading in your own loops. For example, you could load in your own backing tracks and use it as a backing track player. That for me is something that's very important. Once they add that, and I've tested it again and it's all working as expected, I would recommend this pedal. In fact, it's just a coincidence. I didn't plan this, but the Aeros and the Quad Cortex, what? Hang on. Quad Cortex would make a good pair of pedals together. I do think the Quad Cortex should have a looper as well. I don't expect it to be as advanced as the Aeros Looper, but I think those two pedals will make a good pairing if they both get their firmwares up to date. You know, firmware is an interesting thing. I don't know what you think about firmware on devices. I do feel like things get rushed out these days. I don't think it's good. I don't think it's a good thing. I never have. So many products now are released and then the firmware comes later on. And I don't think that's a good way for companies to go. At the same time, what are the other options? The other options are they don't release the product, right? And we have to wait for it to be ready. And I guess some companies can't afford to do that. It is what it is. We used to get no firmware updates. We used to just buy a pedal and it was what it was. And you had to buy a new pedal to upgrade it. Now we get pedals that come out too soon, but we get the updates later on and makes them better. So I guess the advice really is to buy the thing based on what it is today. So if you look at the Aeros Looper and it does what you want it to do, then buy it and enjoy it and be happy with it and don't complain about what it doesn't have. I know I'm doing that myself, but hey, I'm a gear channel, right? So buy it for what it is today. And then anything they add in the future is a bonus. I mean, I have been guilty of buying pedals thinking, well, they're going to add that in a month or two, and then they don't, and then I get disappointed and frustrated. So that's where I kind of stand with that. Yes, I get it. It's totally frustrating. We want everything to work exactly how we want it to work right now, right? But that is just not the case with anything anymore. Let me see what everyone's saying here. Luckily, our acoustic guitars, like my Rain song, don't require firmware. Actually, some guitars do require firmware now, and that can be the same problem. Rosanna says, happy Wednesday. Sorry, autocorrect. Is it Wednesday today? Goodness me, time is flying. Patsy Smith's in Suffolk. Huh? What did Lee say? Oh, he says he typed my name wrong. Yeah, I don't believe it, Lee. I'll call you L-E. L-E. Lee? Lee, L-E. L-E-E. Alan says, 7 p.m. in North Germany. Just got home and my soup is cooking. What a nice way to eat my soup. Yeah, I do that all the time, Alan. I watch videos while I wash up, while I cook, while I eat. I rarely even watch the video. I'll listen to it on my AirPods while I'm walking around the house, you know. Poo Ninja says, I doubt a music store would let you come in and just start capturing stuff on the show floor. Yeah, well, that's another good point, Poo Ninja. Isn't that the danger, that people order amplifiers, capture them, and return them? I'm sure they did that with the Kemper. I'm sure it'll be even more now with the Quad Cortex, because the Quad Cortex is, in my opinion, much easier to make captures with than the Kemper. I tried making amp captures from the Kemper Profiler before, and they never came out the same. But with the Quad Cortex, the captures that I've made so far sound pretty much, I would say, identical. Not even pretty much, identical. It's much easier. I don't use microphones. That's harder. But if I just capture the direct sound and then add like an impulse response for the speaker, I get really, yeah, they're basically the same thing. So I think the danger is if they open a store and let anyone on it, people will buy amps, make some things to sell, and then return them. I don't know. Hey, that's who is it for me to say you should do that? I see that now with the Apple community all the time. People have no problem saying, I ordered every new MacBook Pro that was released last week. I'm going to review them and then choose which one I keep, which basically means I'm going to return the rest. Is that I don't think I agree with that, but sometimes I wonder if it's my age, because it just seems now all the younger YouTubers are doing that. So again, who am I to say? I wouldn't do that, but people do it. I think with amps, that's certainly not the right thing to do. Like I said, I'm not really into the whole buying profiles anyway. What I want to do is own 1 or 2 amps that I love and then make captures of them to take out with me in the box. And I also want to buy something that has good models and captures in it from the get-go. My concern was that one day maybe a box might ship with nothing in it and you have to buy everything. Or maybe they'll do things on subscription. So you buy an empty box and then you have to subscribe every month to get the amps that download. I don't know. I don't think that will happen, but who knows? Everything's on a subscription basis now, right? Randy, how you doing? Good day, my brother. Much love from Southern Illinois. I love Illinois. Where are you there? I've got a brother out there. I haven't been to Chicago in a long time. I love it. That's awesome. And Ricardo says hi to everybody. 3 p.m. in Brazil. I love that, Brazil. How's the weather in Brazil today? That's great. So yeah, I won't rant about the whole firmware thing, but I've seen it so much in the last 2 years. Products come out, the firmware's not ready. And, like we said recently, even Apple are doing that now. The new phone comes out. That first firmware you get on your brand new iPhone that's just released is never stable, is it? And this is Apple, who have pretty much infinite resources. If they can't get the product perfect out of the gate, then how can Singular Sound and Neural and Line 6 and Boss, how is that ever going to be possible? You have to ship at some point. There's going to be some bugs. There's going to be some things that users want changed. And then it just seems to me that some companies take longer than others to get that going. Seems like the current prescription is subscription. Yeah, everything is, isn't it? Everything is a subscription now. Well, what do you think of that? Tell me in the chat. Do you think subscriptions are good? Would you do a subscription for like a pedal? If a pedal had presets, would you subscribe to get those presets in there every month? And if you don't subscribe, you have nothing in there unless you make it yourself. Would you subscribe for guitars, pedals? Didn't someone start a pedal subscription service where you subscribe and you get sent pedals in the mail? Wasn't that a thing? Or isn't that a thing? Brazil is muggy but warm. Nice. The weather's great here. I mean, it's getting cold, and we still have no heat in the building, and it's getting cold, but the sun was shining this morning. Real thing, that's why I never buy bleeding edge stuff. Happy Brothers to beta test it. Well, yeah, you've told me that for years, and I don't disagree. Like, it's good to buy a Kemper today because it's right at the end of its maturity. I'm not going to say end of life, but it's incredibly mature, where the Quad Cortex is incredibly immature. On the flip side of that, though, would you buy a flip phone today and say that's more mature instead of a modern smartphone? To be fair, I guess a lot of people didn't buy like the iPhone. I bought the first ever iPhone, and a lot of people didn't get an iPhone until the 3G, and then it had a few years to mature. So maybe that's the same thing. It's fine if you're a hobbyist, but no good for working pros, he says. I saw a pedal subscription service advertised just today. There you go. It might be a good thing because a lot of people buy a pedal and then it doesn't work out for them and they sell it on Reverb and they might lose some money. Yes, you're going to say you can buy used. I know he's going to say that. You can buy a used pedal. That's a great way to go as well. But a subscription service for pedals, if it's something that you really want to try, like hundreds of them, that isn't such a bad idea, actually. Now I'm thinking about it. Like a Netflix for pedals could be a really good thing. But for software and firmware, I'm not sure. Professional procrastinator, I will talk about that. I've got one more thing to show you in the news before I do that. This has kind of caused a stir today. A new Synergy module. I featured the Synergy combo on here with some modules a few months ago. A lot of people have been talking about Mesa Boogie doing one with them. And this is very interesting. This is based on the 2C+. So you get that graphic EQ. There's a great video with some of the guys from Synergy talking about the development of this module. Now, as far as I know, this is not an official Mesa module. So along those lines of should we be capturing amplifiers, you could say, should we be physically recreating preamps of amplifiers and selling them for the Synergy system? Again, I don't know. Obviously, I guess I don't have a problem with it because I've bought some. Although the ones that I've bought have been official licensed modules. If this wasn't made with Mesa and it is a recreation of their amp, I don't know. That's a whole. I don't really want to get into that subject. I'm not really that opinionated on it. It's just food for thought. But this is a cool thing because I like Mesa amps, right? And you've got the 2 channels. You've got the shared EQ, but it's a graphic EQ, so you can do that smiley face Mesa curve if you want to. And yeah, it doesn't have all the controls of a Mesa amp, although some people might prefer that because some of them can be fiddly to dial in. This is the amp it's based on, just to give you an idea. Actually, this might not be the very amp, and there's no graphic EQ on this one, but this is basically what they're going for. So that's the real amp head. This is the preamp module for the Synergy that you load into a Synergy bay. That's what it looks like inside. So I like the Synergy stuff because it's real, it's analog. You plug that analog preamp into your power amp, Synergy power amp or head, and you get that sound. You don't get exactly the same sound because you're not using the same transformers and cabs that the original one may have used, but you're getting that flavor and it's analog. So it's like analog modeling in a way. And yeah, you buy the combo or the head or the preamp, and then you buy the modules and you just load them in and you can just switch them out. It's a really interesting way of doing things. And the videos I've seen sound good. I'd have to try it in person. Again, I think with all this gear, you want to try it yourself with your own guitar, your own pedals, your own way of listening to it as well. I think that's very important. But I think it's interesting what they've done here. I think it's a shame that Mesa aren't on board officially and getting paid a license, and then they could release all of their amps as modules. That would be really great. And then we could do something like buy a head with 2 slots and have a Soldano and a Mesa in one amp. That would be really great, something like that. The EQ here is still kind of shared. You know, it's not that flexible. So you don't have the EQ on each channel. It's all shared. I do like an actual dedicated EQ on each channel myself. I like a 3-channel amp with a dedicated EQ on each one. So hopefully in the future, Synergy will do that on more modules. So each module will have its own EQ and not just a shared EQ. I don't know. They are working on future stuff, they say, but I'm not sure exactly what they're working on. But yeah, I like their stuff. This is causing a big stir, and the videos sound pretty good. So it's an interesting option. If you're not really into a single channel amp, you're not really into the digital stuff, this is a good way to go. And you can even buy a head where you can load in several of these. So you can have basically a 4-channel amp, which is a really cool idea. Or you can buy like a dock, a bay, where you can put this into your existing amp. So if you have a Fender amp with an effects return, you can plug this in there and basically have a Mesa/Fender hybrid. It's interesting, and it's caused a big stir today, so I thought it was worth mentioning. The Synergy 2CP 2-channel preamp module. Okay, let me come back over here, and let's see what questions I got. My fear is professional procrastinator is asking me the ultimate question that my channel is based upon that ultimately doesn't really have an answer. So I could be here for a while. Can you please talk a bit about the strengths and weaknesses of the Cole Clark pickup system versus the Maton pickup? Are they really that different? Okay, so I was actually thinking about this last night, because last night I was playing the Anthem and I was thinking about the Cole Clark and the Maton. So let's start with what's similar, all right? The undersaddle piezo on both of them is basically the same. It's very big, it's built into the guitar, and just played by itself, it sounds pretty natural, more natural and thicker and fuller than pretty much any other third-party undersaddle pickup. It's really impressive. And remember that Bradley Clark was at Maton when they developed this system, and then he went to form Cole Clark as well with another guy, and they basically further developed that system. So that part is very, very close. The next part of these systems is the microphone. So on the Maton, the latest version of the Maton, which has been changed in the last few years, it's a microphone on a stick, basically. And that microphone is very bright, very honky, has no bass, and that's because it would feed back if it did. So you blend that in with the piezo pickup. and it does sound really good. I usually block the sound hole and turn the mic up pretty loud. Bearing in mind it's quite bright, I'll use the EQ on the guitar to bring the treble down. I think it sounds really great. It sounds larger than life, which is one reason I like those kind of those built-in systems, because they sound big. They sound bigger than the guitar does unplugged. They're very larger than life, and they give you that sound. The mic in the Cole Clark is different. It's more of a smaller mic, and it uses crossovers where the Maton doesn't. So on the Cole Clark, the undersaddle pickup does the low end, the bass. The microphone does the high end, those really high notes. And then a body sensor does the mid-range. The Maton doesn't have the body sensor. For a long time, I said I preferred the Cole Clark because of that body sensor. The body sensor gives you an enhanced mid-range and more body sounds, especially with the satin finish of most of their guitars. You can get like kind of a rusty sound for looping. You can drum on the guitar and you get a ton of body sound for drumming. So it's like when you have a K&K in a guitar. And also, I've often said that 3 pickups is better than 2. They both have excellent battery life as well. Here's the thing, though, I've realized lately by playing them both back to back, the mid-range of the Cole Clark can get a little bit what I would call honky, where the Maton, especially my Nashville Maton, can sound more creamier and smoother. And I think I like that. Now, don't forget, I have video reviews of these 2 guitars. So you can go back and watch my reviews, play the videos back to back and listen with headphones and make your own decision. But having said that, I'm a huge fan of both. I've played the Cole Clark on many live streams and really gotten into the sound, really enjoyed it. It just takes a bit more tweaking. I would say the Maton still has the body percussion sound, but I would say if you really want the body percussion sound, then the Cole Clark is probably the way to go. If you want a bit more of a richer, warmer tone, and it might just be the particular Nashville woods and construction that does this, but I think it's the system as well. I think those body pickups can add more of a nasal sound, which can be EQ'd out. It's just something to bear in mind. So I'm kind of on the fence between the 2. I think all round, I prefer the Maton, just as an all-round acoustic and plugged-in guitar. But the Cole Clark can have this excellent, like I said, body sound. For looping, it can be the ultimate way to go. I'm also really interested in the ones that have the electric guitar humbucker pickup as well. I'd love to try one of those at some point. So the truth is, I can't really answer your question. I'm kind of in the middle. They're both good for different reasons. I think my favorite of all of them, if you want my honest opinion right now, I think if I had to grab one of them, it would be the Maton Nashville. There's also a Joe Robinson signature, and that has stainless steel frets. That really interests me to have the stainless steel frets on it. So those 2 are really interesting. The Cole Clark Angel, I think, would be a good way to go. Either the Angel with the humbucker if you want to get into that electric stuff as well, or just a straight up Angel Cole Clark. I think it's a really cool guitar, and I've heard that sound really, really incredible at some concerts and some local gigs. And like I said, I have really enjoyed it on my live streams, but I was just thinking about this very thing yesterday. I don't know why it's come up today. And I just think that my Nashville Maton just has a bit of a richer, creamier, warmer sound. A little bit less honky, let's say. A little bit less stringy than the other one. So they're both great. I think they're both, for me, up there at the best plugged in, with factory installed electronics you can get, definitely. But they are quite different because the pickups are similar, and yet they've both gone different directions in their development over time. And then he said, if you wanted a good acoustic and plugged-in tone, where would you put your money? So that's my answer. If I had to choose one that's good unplugged and plugged from the guitars I have, and remember I haven't played all the different models, I really do like that Nashville guitar a lot. I really like that a lot. So I'd go for the Maton Nashville. If you're only plugging in and not worried about the unplugged sound, and you do a lot of looping, I might say to lean towards the Cole Clark. And I've got the Blackwood Fat Lady, but I think the Angels are good too. And the problem is there's so many other models, aren't there, within the range? It's like, yeah, I've got the Blackwood Fat Lady and the Nashville Maton, but then there's also like another 20 models of each brand. and I haven't tried all of those. So I'm only telling you what I think about the 2 models that I have here. But lately I have been enjoying the Maiden. But then, like I said, last year I was preferring the Cole Clark. So take from that what you want. Use your ears, listen to the videos I made and the live streams I did with those guitars, and decide which one you think suits the sound of what you're doing the best. Bimo says, I only hear excuses from Kemper users. Excuses? I don't know. It's good. I've had 2 of them and they just never clicked with me. But then I just like the real amp now anyway. I don't know. My friend who's a producer uses Kemper exclusively. I personally have a few amps and a bunch of pedals and I mic everything, but you can certainly take the digital route professionally. Oh yeah. Yeah, I think when you're recording and using in-ears, then the digital stuff is great and really shines, but nothing for me beats the amp in the room. Just having a great 3-channel amp with reverb and a delay and a clean boost, that's all I need. You know, I think that also depends on your needs. If you need like a different amp for each song that you play at a gig, then obviously the digital is the way to go, especially if you use in-ears. But if all you want is a clean sound, I've always said if you play blues and you want one sound, just one sound with reverb, that's it, and you don't wear in-ears, then why would you buy a Kemper? You just buy a Blues Junior, right? And just have that. Because even if you buy something like a Helix or a Kemper, you've still got to amplify it. You've still got to take a way to amplify it. If you don't use in-ears, and you've got to take a speaker to amplify the thing anyway, then what's the point? I was looking at Kemper. There's a thing called Valve Train, and it's a tube amp combo that weighs 50 pounds, and you plug the Kemper into it, and it's like plugging into a real amp. But then for me, it's like, what's the point? Because a combo amp is 50 pounds anyway, right? So you could just take a combo amp with a few pedals. What's the point of taking that and the Kemper? You end up just arriving at the same destination sometimes. It's a lost cost though, and with used stuff you get your money back and can keep stuff you like. Yeah, I have bought. My Cole Clark was bought used, and a lot of stuff I bought last year was used. And sometimes when you buy used, it's better than buying new, because the person has kind of broken it in, the person has had any repairs done that needed doing. I think last year I bought some new stuff that showed up with some faults I had to have fixed. And then the used things I bought didn't have faults. So sometimes buying used is actually much better. And of course, you save money every time. Bimo says it's a Fryette. That's right. Fryette designed basically the Synergy stuff with the other guys as well. And I think he designed that module. Yeah. There's a good video with him talking about it, right? That's worth checking out. Mark S., how you doing? Says hello, Aero. Real Ting says, Mesa makes several amps which are basically modified versions of Fenders and Marshalls anyway. Yeah, well, I guess so. I guess modern amp makers are just rebuilding classic circuits in the same way that pedal makers are just rebuilding classic circuits. So I guess everyone's borrowing from everybody else, aren't they? And you could say the same thing about the music we play as well. We're just borrowing from everybody else that's come before us. They probably don't want to do it as they'd have to share royalties and profits. Yeah, especially now they've been acquired by Gibson. That adds another layer of complexity. That's really helpful and interesting. Yeah, I'm sorry. It's funny because people come on my channel and say, so which one do I get? Which pickup do I get? And I just say, well, can you got like 3 months for me to talk about this? Because there isn't a perfect. Nothing is perfect. All these things are a compromise, right? In fact, you realize after buying and selling gear for a while that all gear is just a compromise anyway, as everything in life is a compromise, right? And it's also very dependent on what you play and how you play. So for example, the 3 pickups in the Cole Clark, some people might say that's the best thing since sliced bread because they loop and they want every little sound to be picked up and loop every little sound and scratch and sniff and every little noise to come through like you're in the room with that guitar. And that might just be the best thing ever. And then someone that just strums open chords and sings Bob Dylan covers might hate that because they might be wearing a nice shirt and it's every time they strum the guitar, they're getting this scratchy sound come through. So one person's great is another person's terrible. So that's why I say it's only my opinion. Yeah. it's such a big topic. That's why I make all these videos and talk about everything in detail, because there's just so many. Well, first of all, there's way too much gear. First of all, there's way too many options for everything, right? Look how many ways there are to amplify an electric guitar. Look how many I've got in this room, right? I've got a Fender amp. I've got the Amp 1. I've still got the Helix in the closet. I've got the Quad Cortex. I've got a plug-in on my computer. I've got a fly rig in my guitar bag, right? I've got way too many than I need anyway. It's crazy. Like, sometimes I wish I could go back to the 60s where you just had no choice but to buy an amp and play that amp. We have so many choices now, and people say that's why they have YouTube channels, to help navigate those choices. But the truth is, sometimes you just got to buy one thing and stick with it and make it work, you know? Rusty says, when you EQ'd the Yamaha Atmosphere, I thought it was as good as the Maton. That said, your demo was only through a board, and that can be very different than live. Did you ever use Yamaha live? You know, it kind of... I might change my mind on this, but it kind of bugs me when people say that. I've had some famous pickup makers say this to me as well. Like, well, when you record straight into your computer, Aaron, that's not the same as when you play at a gig. There is some truth in that. There is some truth. So let's take it back to the K&K. The K&K, for me, can feed back unless I do certain EQs, and because there's no preamp, right? Nothing's been treated. So I have to EQ it and use a feedback buster or think about where I'm playing, because it's a passive pickup. Of course, if I plug that straight into my interface with in-ears, I'll have no issues because there's no sound in the room. Whereas if I play that at a gig, I've then got to factor in the room. I do agree with that, but I don't really agree that some pickups can sound pretty crap on a direct recording and excellent in real life. To me, it's still the same source sound that you're amplifying, right? Anyway, I may be on a different wavelength there to what people mean. But the truth is, the Yamaha Atmosphere is an excellent system. And I think that's because they borrowed from the Cole Clark method. I'm not saying that they copied it, but when you look at it, it's an undersaddle, a mic, and a body sensor. The interesting thing is that the mic on the Yamaha does the mid-range, and the body sensor does the high range, the high trebles, and on the Cole Clark, it's the other way around. But it does sound great. In fact, the Yamaha, to me, to contradict myself a little bit, the Yamaha plugged in direct versus in a room. In the room, to me, it sounds even more natural than it does direct. So okay, I'll take back a little bit of what I just said. The Atmosphere is an excellent system, but it doesn't have all the EQ options on it. So you really still need to run it into a mixer of some kind, because it doesn't really have a flexible EQ. But whenever I did use the Yamaha Atmosphere several times at gigs, and it always sounded excellent. It also sounded excellent with the voice print DI pedal as well. It worked really well with that. I think they're onto a great thing with the Atmosphere. I think they should put it in all their guitars. I think they should make cutaway guitars with it in as well. And I think that would be really cool. I just always say this, and I feel so bad saying it. Yamaha, to me, doesn't have... I don't know. I feel like such a fool saying it. I just don't... I don't connect... I'm so awful. I know people at Yamaha, right? So obviously I connect with the brand. But just as an instrument, I don't know. I just want, I guess I want it to say Martin. I want it to say even Maton. I don't know. There's something about Yamaha. What is it? What is it with Yamaha? Like, their stuff is the best, most affordable stuff out there. The Atmosphere is an excellent system. I really do rate it really high. But I don't know. Now I'm saying it out loud. I feel like a complete fool even saying it. But that's the truth. That's just how it is. I am definitely a brand snob, right? I definitely like Fender. I definitely like Martin. I've definitely gone away from that as time has gone on. You know, like I really like the Rain Song. I really like other guitars that I've been playing lately, like the what's it called? Oh, I can't think. There's some other brand of guitars that I've been checking out lately that I really like. I think gradually over time I'm getting away from that, because some gear just works better for me than others. And so you've got to go with what works best for you, not just the brand. But there is definitely something about the whole brand thing. And maybe that's really awful, and I should try to get over that. I don't know. Let me know what you think about brands. Like, do you? Well, obviously you do. A lot of people watching right now watch the Monday Martin show, right? They love Martin guitars. So I guess a lot of people that watch my channel are very brand loyal. But I don't know. And I've got people here talking about Yamaha and Maton today, so maybe not. Let me know what you think in the comments. Professional Procrastinator says, interesting because I hear a lot of comments, the Maton isn't great unplugged. Yeah. So to go along with the whole brand thing, I think what happens with a lot of people is they get used to something and then the other thing doesn't sound right. I think a lot of people that say that are people that play Martin and Taylor and American guitars, and they get used to that sound of like rosewood and Sitka spruce, and then they hear the Australian tone woods and they're not used to that sound, and therefore it's not as good. And I also think a lot of people, to tie in with what I just said about brands, are very brand loyal. I think some people can't even get past the fact that a guitar isn't a certain brand, right? I think some people have to play a Martin. And I know I just said I do. No, I don't. I obviously like other brands as well. But I see a little bit of that in myself and I see that in other people. Some people just won't ever like a Maton, right? And some people will get so used to the feel of a Taylor, when they pick up the Maton, it won't feel right and therefore it feels wrong. I mean, just listen to Tommy Emmanuel play a Maton. It sounds incredible. Okay, he's a great player, but it does sound excellent. Oh, also, I think the Maton sounds so excellent plugged in that, yeah, okay, maybe the unplugged sound isn't as good as the plugged in sound, but that doesn't mean the unplugged sound is no good. The plugged in sound is just out of this world, and then the unplugged sound maybe isn't as good as the plugged in sound. I don't agree with that. I think it's what our ears get used to. And what I'd like to do while I have these guitars, because I've thought about selling some guitars off, but what I think I'll do while I've got the guitars here is do some comparisons. I think I should probably do Maton versus Martin, Rain Song versus Maton, Cole Clark versus Maton. I think not all the guitars are the same woods or body shapes, but I think I should do some blind tests to see if this stuff is actually real. Like, for example, this guitar has no bracing, it's carbon fiber. If I do this versus the Martin of the same body shape that I have right now, would you be able to tell the difference? Which one would you prefer? I think that'd be a really good video. Or plugged in sound of Cole Clark versus Maton. Yeah, again, they're different body shapes, but which one do people prefer? And not just us, because the people here today probably know what my guitars sound like because they watch me on a Sunday live stream. But maybe people that just navigate to the channel over a week, see what they think and do like a vote and then see which one people choose. And that would eliminate that snobbery, of like, well, that's the Martin. That's the best sounding one. I swear one week I went live and I played my Martin with the Fishman Matrix, which is I'll say it's the least natural sounding pickup I have. And everyone said that was great. And I just think they said that because they looked at the headstock and saw the Martin. They just wanted me to play the Martin. I might be wrong. People might have enjoyed the sound of that pickup. But I think when you see the product, a lot of this is in our mind. A lot of this is emotional attachment. So I think I should probably do that video. Or that series. It would be a series, wouldn't it? I've been using Kemper for 8 years. Not sure what you mean by excuses. I like it and it suits what I do perfectly. Yeah. Hey, if you find a piece of gear that works for you and you're happy with it, that's great, isn't it? I mean, no one wants to keep switching, and I see a lot of people now, and I'm not saying I don't do this. I made a YouTube channel about gear, so of course I do this too. But I see a lot of people on social media going from Helix, the next week they've got a Kemper, the next week they've got an Axe FX3, the next week they've got a HX Stomp, the next week they've got a quad Cortex. I think the real Ting is onto something here, because he's bought a Kemper, he's stuck with it, he's found sounds that work for him, and he's not looking elsewhere. And I think that's, like I said, if you're happy with what you're getting, that's great. I think with me, I was not happy with a lot of the digital stuff for years. I think I was looking for the amp in the room sound, and now I have an amp in the room. I think that's what I should have just done in the beginning. I think I believed a lot of hyperbole by people online saying, oh, I bought this and sold all my amps and this is better than an amplifier. No, it's not. Again, it's the compromise thing. It's the trade-off, right? It's just different. It's good for certain applications. It's not going to replace an amp in the room in the same way that acoustic guitar pickup will never replace a microphone, even though they're trying to, and I hope one day they will. So you've got to be careful what you believe online now, what you read and see, especially nowadays when there's a lot of people that are basically selling stuff, and also have their own agenda, which is fine. Obviously, I have an agenda too. I'm growing a YouTube channel, right? So. But as a customer, I'm just thinking about someone like Professional Procrastinator. When you're looking for these things, you've got to bear in mind, okay, they're saying it works for them, but what do I need? What am I looking for? What do I need from this thing, right? Are you looking for great unplugged sound, great plugged in sound? Well, first of all, bear in mind that may not exist because you're looking for everything in one, and there is no one thing in life that does everything perfectly. So what matters to you? What sounds do you like? Watch performances of people playing and unbiased performances and opinions and just concerts and things, and just see what works for you, and then try to buy from somewhere with a return policy as well. Because I tried a solid state amp a few months ago and I hated it. I didn't do a video about it. I try not to do videos about stuff that I just don't like at all. I think it's a bit negative, but I tried something. Sometimes I'll talk about that stuff on these live streams because it's not an actual video, but I tried something I just thought was really awful, and then I couldn't return it. So beware of that. I'll never do that again. I did the same thing with my in-ears. Remember my in-ears I had made? I never bothered to ask if there was return policy. I did end up returning them, and I got my money back, which was great. But these are much better. These ones, I love these ones, and I haven't made a review of these yet, but I will. These are the Shores that the Real Ting told me about. I'm very happy with them. Very happy. So yeah, just that's my advice. Do your own research and try to buy used where you can sell for your money back, or buy from a place that has that guaranteed return policy. Ricardo says, exactly, depends on what you want. Digital gives you more options at a much lower cost. Yeah, and then sometimes all those options can be your downfall, can't they? Because you never settle on one thing. But it's no substitute for the real thing. That's right. But then the real thing only gives you that one option. So if that's not the thing you want, you're stuck with that and you have to sell it. Like I said, trade-offs. It's all trade-offs all the time. I say if you can have a wall of amps, given that you can play them at volume, do that. Yeah. Well, even my amps at low volume, I enjoy. I know they'll sound even better when they turn them up, but I like amps at low volume too. Yes, it does get more expensive, you're right, like a pedal board, like the pedal board in your picture, Ricardo. Pedals can get really expensive. I was shopping for a power supply the other month. Even a power supply can be hundreds of dollars, right? Where a small multi-effects pedal like the HX Stomp can be $400. So sometimes the power supply and your board costs as much as a multi-effects unit, which is nuts. Vic G says, when you buy used instruments, are you ever hesitant because a used instrument isn't covered by warranty? Yeah, that's my biggest hesitation buying used. Like, I knew a guy once. I've said this before. I've known people in the past that will do things like buy an acoustic guitar and then go in there and reshape the braces inside. Now, I would hate it. I mean, actually, to be fair, what if you buy that and it's the best guitar you've ever played because they did that? But that's something that holds me back. Like, what if there's hidden damages? What if there's things that don't work? I think with digital, it's okay because you just factory reset it, make sure everything works, and you're good. Someone like reverb.com will cover you if there's a problem, so that's good. You lose the warranty. Yeah, but a lot of warranties are kind of worthless anyway. Not all of them, but like I've tried to stop buying the extended warranties because I figure if I buy 10 extended warranties over a year, and spend $1,000 in extended warranties, I may as well not buy any of them. And then if that pedal breaks throughout the year, I can just buy a new pedal. Because with some warranties, they'll send you a refurbished item or fix it for you anyway, and you kind of regret buying the warranty. So it really depends on the warranty. Like I know Line 6 have a very good policy. Well, they say, people I've heard say they have a very good policy. I've never had to claim on it myself. So no, I don't. I think there's times when you'll buy something on Reverb when they'll say the condition is excellent and you get it and you think, no, this isn't excellent. This is average. And you get a bit disappointed. You may have feel like you've overpaid slightly. But I think in general, if you're smart and you shop around and you keep your eye open and you find good deals and you ask the right questions, you can find excellent deals. Lately, a lot of people are posting one crappy picture with no description, and you message them and say, well, what's the actual condition? And they say, why are you wasting my time? You either buy it or you don't. Well, just ignore those people. There are people that post really good pictures, really good descriptions, and you can find some really good deals. But you've got, like everything else, you've got to hunt for them. But if you can find them, you're good. Of course, yeah, of course there's a risk. But like I said, to counteract that, there's a few things that I got new last year that had pretty serious issues. When I say serious, they're all fixable. But I had to go and fix those things myself. That is a pain that I've not had with used gear. Usually with used gear, it's been played in, it's working. They've almost like tested it out for you. So bear that in mind. Just because something's brand new from the box doesn't mean it's going to be working perfectly. How often have you bought a guitar where you've had to then go and replace the tuners and have a setup and have a wire reattached? Where if you bought it used, maybe that person's already been through that. It's just another angle to think about. I think they're both viable. Like we've got Black Friday sales coming up. I would look out for new stuff in sales. I'd always buy from places that have the warranty, the return policy, because there's nothing worse than being stuck with something that doesn't work for you. And some of the small stores don't have those policies. I understand they don't want people to abuse them. But if you're spending thousands and you're worried that the thing isn't for you, then get that return policy, definitely. And then just keep an eye out, like on Reverb. Just keep your eye out on there for stuff. Like me, right? I'm next 12 months, I'll definitely sell a few guitars. And those guitars that I'm going to sell probably have been used at 1 or 2 gigs and video reviews. They're going to be in excellent quality. I've actually thought about maybe even just selling them through my, I know some people will say on the channel they're selling them and selling to people through the channel. I've thought about that. But I do use Reverb. Reverb is really good. But remember, they do charge the tax to the buyer, and they do charge like 1 or 2 fees to the seller. What I'll say about Reverb, though, is their shipping is excellent. And when you buy the shipping through Reverb, it's really cheap and it includes insurance. And I did have a problem this year with an item that got damaged, and Reverb just paid the buyer to have it repaired, and everything was fine. So I do like Reverb. Yes, it's not as cheap as, again, trade-offs, right? You sell through Facebook Marketplace, you get all the money, but there's a risk involved because you don't know the person. You sell through Reverb, there's less risk, but then you pay more money for that less risk. That would be today's theme, trade-offs. Alan says it's different because every piece of gear sounds different in different environments. That's the biggest thing for me with these profiles and things, right? Because the guitar, so say I make a profile here in this room with these studio monitors and my Strat and my guitar cable and my strings and my pick and the way that I play, and then I send that to Ricardo, and Ricardo uses in-ears and a Les Paul and a different cable and a different pick and a different string manufacturer, right, brand. It's going to sound different, isn't it? So that's why I still like to find the thing that works for me, like the guitar and the amp. And I just think sometimes these things are too generic. Ricardo says, my British AC30 can only be played isolated because it's not a master volume amp, so it's ridiculously loud. Yeah, so I never made a video. I have a Universal Audio aux box, and I never made a review of it, and I'm going to make one because I use it every day and I love it. And there's 2 reasons why I love it. One is because it's an attenuator, and some people say it's not the best attenuator. I don't know, I'm not an expert. For me, it works great. If you have an amp where on 1 it's too loud, it will let you play it at a reasonable volume, even if you have to adjust the EQ a bit differently because it's quieter. I think that's fine. But you can also use in-ears with it. It's got excellent cab sims in it. And I've also got the Captor X that I did a review of for, I did a review of that for 2 Notes. That's a more portable version. So those things are great for layered amps too, like the attenuators and they're both the same. They're both attenuators and also cab sims. So you can use in-ears. So I want to make a video on that because for me, again, it's like a hybrid approach, right? You've got the real amp, but you're running it into emulation for the cabs and lowering the volume of it. And to me, they work really well. Like I said at the start, there's just a million ways to do everything right now. It's kind of nuts. Hey, Pete, how you doing? The variables are insurmountable. 60s, 70s gear stunk, but the fans were the best. That's the thing, isn't it? I mean, a lot of us are playing live streams with in-ears directly over YouTube now anyway. So do we need an amp in the room? That's another thing. This is all very personal. You know, just because I like playing through an amp, you might not. You might want to use plugins only. You really got to sit down and think, what do I need? What do I do? You know, don't build a massive pedal board and then realize you don't even use those pedals. You just use 2 or 3 sounds. You really got to sit down and think, what songs do I play? What sounds do I need? I think that's really important. Too much guitar mic often gives the problem because of the rhinestones on my jacket. Exactly, yeah. A very sensitive pickup can pick up the rustling. I've been using Elixir strings lately. I don't like them as much as the Martin strings for the tone, but they have less string noise when I move my hand. So I like them for that reason. They also last longer too. So I'll probably end up switching to them for most stuff just for that reason. Now, again, that might not be a problem for you based on your technique, your skin, the way you play, or your pickup. So all these things kind of come together. Just because someone says they like Martin strings doesn't mean they'll work for you, because it might be the pickup they use with them, the guitar they use them on, the way they play could be completely different. You might need Elixir strings. That might work better for you. So, hey, from Switzerland, good to see you. Gone minimalistic and everything lately. Maybe an age, but stick to what you have and make it work. Yes, yeah, I've been like that too. Now, I haven't done it. I've been thinking, sometimes I'll have this thought come to my head of sell everything and have 1 acoustic, 1 electric, and 1 amp, and just go back to those days of a child where I would just go to a band rehearsal, throw the amp down, and just play the song and write songs. And I've thought about doing that, and then I don't do it because of course I justify it by thinking, well, I've got a YouTube channel, and before I do that, I want to review this, and this, and I might want to compare this and this, like I've been saying today. I totally get, I'm just enabling myself, and that's a total excuse. Yes, it is. But there we go. That's what I've chosen to do. But I do think that's the way forward for most people. I do think you can go down rabbit holes and get and waste a lot of time with a lot of this stuff too. And I do think that's a good way to be, for sure. I do not disagree with you. Then again, do what makes you happy. If you want to have 100 guitars, then get 100 guitars. Ricardo says, you can't really play a 100-watt amp at home unless you live in the field. No, but you can run it through the 2 notes or the aux box and attenuate it down to play in the room or to run that sound through the cab sims. So, all valve amps have a sweet spot for gain and volume. If you're playing in a quieter or louder scenario, you would turn down and out the sweet spot or mic'd, where Kemper is consistent. Yeah, but that's why the aux box or the 2 notes are imperative to me. You're absolutely right. Some amps you put on 1 and it goes from like 0, it goes from no sound to way too loud, even on 1. And that's why those boxes, for me, go hand in hand with the amp. Definitely. I don't know, there's just something about the Kemper. And you know, sometimes I wonder, like, is it the fact that the real amp is here going through the aux box? And I know again, talking about brands again, is it that I completely realize I sound completely insane today. It's fine. I don't mind. But is it that the real amp is in the room and I know it's real? And so in my brain, I'm like, that's the real amp. Whereas with the Kemper, I know it's basically some kind of tone matched digital thing. So I don't connect with it as much. Or is it just that the digital stuff does not sound as good? I've got to say again, the captures that I made, and these were captures of the amp into the aux box cab sims, which I think get really close to listening to an actual mic'd up cab. When I captured them in the quad Cortex, they sounded, I couldn't tell a difference. I need to make more videos. The truth is I need to make more videos actually doing these experiments, and then you'll see, if you're interested in this stuff, you'll see. But I would still argue that the amp in the room for me is more desirable than even the amp through the aux in the in-ears. I just like the real thing. But of course, if I need to record my amp, I'm going to mic it up. At that point, you may as well use the aux box, right? I think I need to make some video comparisons on this stuff. Even in the booth, I've never turned a super lead to 10, way too loud. Oh yeah, totally. You know, I was watching a video with Line 6 the other day, and they said that actually, you know, bear that in mind when you do like when you adjust a modeler. Like a lot of people will turn the modeler onto 10, and bear in mind that you would never turn a real amp to 10. So treat the modeler or the Kemper, whatever, like you would a real amp. So that means don't turn it on to 10. Use it on what you would normally use it on. Lewis says, the best to ever done it. The best ever. Are you talking about me or yourself, Lewis? Oh, Maury's Music is here. Says, hi, Aaron in chat. Lee says, I'm a brand snob. I love Martin guitars. Yes, and yet Lee just got a foldable guitar. That's not a Martin. So there you go. Maybe you're not quite the brand snob you say you are, Lee. Patsy Smith likes the sound of the Rain song. Yeah, I do too. And the thing about the Rain song is it's a good thing for me to bear in mind, because we often talk about bracing and woods, and of course the Rain song has no bracing or wood, just cosmetically. But the actual Rain songs without the vintage look are just carbon fiber with no bracing, and some people really like the sound of them. Rusty, how you doing? Brad Clark has a new system called the Supernatural, available in only a few brands, including Kepma, a Chinese brand. That's right, and I've chatted with Brad. I would love nothing more than to have Bradley Clark on here for an interview. I think he is one of the most talented guitar builders and pickup makers there's ever been. But I don't think he wants to do that. And especially with the whole Maton and Cole Clark thing, obviously there was some changeovers and things. I don't think that's going to happen. But I do think he's great. And the Supernatural is a very interesting idea. And I'd like to try that out. But I have heard that I don't think they're using them in Kepma anymore. I think they've gone to a new pickup that looks a bit like an Anthem, but the mic is built into the preamp. And the battery is not a battery compartment or battery pouch. It's actually in that same preamp. So you just have the one thing stuck to the guitar and an undersaddle pickup. I'd like to try that as well. It's kind of white. It's a bright white color, which I think is not, I would prefer it as black, so it's more inconspicuous. I've been using that word a lot lately, inconspicuous. But they've actually moved away from that. But Bradley, I believe, is still making that. And I think his plan, I think, next was to make a new guitar with that built into the guitar, a bit like he did with the Cole Clark and the Maton. So I'm definitely keeping my eye on that. And yeah, when I spoke to him, he's a really lovely guy. Like I said, you know, interesting with a lot of the pickup stuff. I guess not just pickups, right? Any industry. A lot of people are not able to talk about certain things. I get it. It's like I couldn't get Apple on here to talk about the next computers that are coming out because they can't do that. So I get it. I usually like certain brands because they've established... Hey, Pete, thanks for subscribing. Really appreciate it. I'm getting so close to 10,000 now. It's exciting stuff. I usually like certain brands because they've established themselves and have a proven track record for quality and tone. I avoid some other brands because they have a track record of lesser quality or tone. Now, that's true, but even the best brands can have issues, right? I've had issues with... the last 2 years, I've had out-of-the-box issues with PRS, Fender, and Martin. So I'm not going to say that that's completely... I'm not saying I completely agree with that, professional procrastinator. And then I've also had some cheaper stuff that hasn't had any issues. So I don't know. I think... I just to be fair, I think when companies get really successful and make loads of products and the turnover is huge, I think there's going to be issues. That's just life, right? I think for me, it's more about how those companies would deal with an issue, right? We've all dealt with those brands, and not just music, like anything. We've all dealt with those brands that won't help us out with something, right? Like maybe you get a Dyson vacuum cleaner and the battery dies a day before the warranty or day after the warranty's up, and they won't replace it because they say it's your fault that it died. So I don't think it's about the brand or the product as such. I think it's more about how they back it up. And to actually we're going to rewind now because earlier on someone said, when you buy used, does it bother you you don't have the warranty? Well, that kind of ties in with this, doesn't it? But the warranty is only as good as the company that backs the warranty and how they back that warranty. Some companies are very good with customer service and some companies are not. And the three things I just mentioned were all resolved by the companies. So to me, that's absolutely fine. But I guess my question to you with that statement is, how do you know? How do you know? Like even the best company with the best stuff and the best warranties can still have things slip through, right? You can have a bad experience with anything, can't you? And likewise, the ones that have the lesser quality, as you're saying, may improve, right? As well. You see that a lot lately too. Things get changed and improved. So I don't know. I get what you're saying. I think I'm trying to play devil's advocate with that one. Some comparison videos would be a lot of fun and pretty interesting. Yeah, I think I should do those where you don't even see the guitar. I think I should just do like, which one do you prefer? And not even ask you which one you prefer. Not even ask you which one is which. Just say, look, which one do you prefer? And A or B, and then reveal the week later which was A and which was B, just to get some feedback on things without seeing them. The Yamaha Fs5 is pretty amazing. I think it beats out the Martin 0018 hands down. Torrefied Sitka top, bracing and torrefied mahogany back and sides. Martin is my favorite brand. You see, Chalerism is a big Martin fan, so that's quite a big statement coming from you. Hey, I'll go on record saying the same thing. The red label Yamaha guitar, right? I still have it. I just don't use it, but it's one of the best guitars out on the market. It's excellent unplugged. It's excellent plugged. It's around $999. It's under $1,000 if you get a good deal on it. If you buy one used, you might even get it for $700. I can't say that enough. I'm not being down on Yamaha. Their stuff, again, probably because they have such huge resources and such a huge factory, their prices are incredible. Their prices compared to quality are incredible. They make some incredibly cool stuff. They just released something I really want to try, which is the guitar with the built-in reverb, but with a cutaway now. They just released that. I really want to try that thing. Really want to try it. I bet it's a great guitar. I bet it's a lot of fun as well. I really want to try one of those. And you know, the silent guitar, I'm only trying to be honest. They're not the instruments I reach for. But I honestly, if you want to ask me what I think the best value and quality overall is yeah, Yamaha. I'll give that to them, definitely. And in fact, Professional Procrastinator, you were asking me about Cole Clark and Maton. You should also consider the red label Yamahas. If you're not looking for a cutaway, consider the red label Yamahas as well, because they're just excellent all-round guitars. Alan Coleman says, for musicians who can't afford to buy a nice Martin, there's no beating a good Yamaha FG. Only my thoughts. No, totally. Totally. And to some people, I would even recommend that over a Martin. Honestly, I would. To some people, yeah. Is it the guitar or the player? Well, it's the player. Because there's people that demo gear and everything just sounds excellent. Because they have the touch, they have the feel, they have the technique. It's definitely the player. But then again, the guitar will inspire the player, right? So there's that as well. If the gear inspires you, it makes you better and it makes you happier. I think, in my opinion. A guy playing 6 nights a week for 4 months at a time can make almost guitar sound great. Yeah, I really think, Pete, it's something to do with getting used to something as well. I think if you play a guitar, a D18 with a K&K for 3 years, that sound will become normal to you. And then if someone hands you a Cole Clark, you're probably going to say, I don't like it. That's not what I'm used to. I think we get used to sounds. And I try to bear that in mind as a reviewer as well. So say someone sends me a different electric guitar with humbuckers in it, and I'm always playing single coils. My first thought might be, well, they sound dull. They sound too thick. It doesn't sound right. Because I'm not used to that sound. I think that's really dangerous. We get used to things, right? It's like, I like peppermint tea. because I drink it all the time. So if you give me lemon tea, I won't be used to it. It doesn't mean it's bad. It just means I'm not used to it. And I think that's something, when you get a new piece of gear, like don't make a decision straight away. You really have to commit to it and stick with it and try to work out the best from it. And not just say, well, it's not as good as the other one. Well, I think what you mean is it's not what I'm used to sometimes, not always. Which solid state amp, what do you like? So I've tried several solid state amps, okay? I've tried I can't even think what they are now. I've tried so many of them. I've tried the Power Stage one. I made a video. I had the Power Stage 170, the Kemper cabinet, the Line 6 power cab. And I made a video where I said none of them sounded anywhere close to the real amp when I made this video. And in fact, no one disagreed with me, to be in my defense. But a few months ago, I tried because one of our friends here was raving about it, I tried a Quilter. I've heard loads of people rave about Quilter amps, and I tried one and I didn't like it. But I'm not sure if I didn't like the amp or the cab, because it was an amp and a cab, and I think it may have been the cab that I didn't like. Don't forget, with an amplifier, there's the preamp, the power amp, and the cabinet. And sometimes if the cabinet isn't right, that can really affect the sound. In fact, the cabinet you use with an amplifier really affects the character of the sound. Right? It can make it brighter, more mid-range, less mid-range. It's like they all have their own character. But I just didn't like it. And I don't think I've played any solid state amp that I like as much as a tube amp. And it's driving me crazy because I feel like there must be a solid state amp that I like as much. The amp one that I have here is basically solid state, but with a nano tube in it. I think that's the one I like the most of everything I've tried. But it's gotten so bad that I'm wondering if it's just in my mind that I just don't like, if I'm like a snob, like, oh, solid state's not as good as tube. But all the ones I've tried are not as good. And I really did not like the Kemper cab. It sounded good, but it sounded very small. Again, maybe because the cabinet itself was small. The Line 6 power cab was a 212, huge cab, and yet the drive sound still sounded small. And I don't know if is it user error? Is it snobbery? I don't know what it is. And I'm not saying that, oh, well, tubes blow everything else away. Tubes have problems. They go wrong. You have to replace them. When you turn them up too loud, they don't have as much headroom as solid state sometimes. Sometimes solid state can just be like the same thing but louder, where tubes obviously get more compressed as you turn them up. But just in those experiments that I've done so far, the solid state stuff has not done it for me. And it really bugs me. It really, because I read so many comments where people say that they like a lot of that stuff and they rave about it and how they sold all their tube amps, and it just does not work for me. So I think I'm going to give that a rest and just not pursue that anymore unless I get sent something to try. And unless someone can say, look, you're going to like ours and you should try ours because it's going to really impress you. I think I should put that to rest for a while. And then just one more closing thought on that. You can buy tube power amps, 100-watt tube power amps, but they weigh 30 pounds and cost $1,500. So at that point, I'm like, well, I might as well just buy a tube amp head, right? And just use pedals. So you end up chasing your tail. Jim says you just started. What did I miss? I can't believe it. Have I been on for an hour and 10 minutes already? Is that right? That's nuts. Jim, you've missed an hour and 10 minutes. You have to go back and watch the replay. Sorry. A good player can make a lesser instrument sound better than a poor player, but can a good player make a great instrument sound awesome? The same player on a lesser or better instrument is obvious. Yeah, I agree with that. I know too many people who only buy a new car because they don't want to pay for servicing, spend 30k more to save a few hundred. Yeah. Yeah, new cars have issues too, right? I think as things move forward, it gets a bit harder though. I mean, like with cars now are basically computers, aren't they? And I think nowadays it's nice to buy a new car because everything in there is new and cars get driven a lot and used a lot. I think gear's different. I mean, I've sold gear I bought new, has sat in this room. I've used it in the room and never taken it to a gig and then sold it. So that's basically like buying from a store. I think when you buy a car that's been driven thousands of miles, you don't know if they've had it regularly serviced or looked after. I think it's a bit different with a car. But yeah. It depends how it's used, I suppose. Am I listing anything on Reverb? Not at the moment, no. But I do use Reverb and I do like it. I do like it. Some of it's down to the instrument tone, but part of it will be the player feels more inspired on a better instrument. Yeah, that's totally... don't get me wrong. None of this stuff... I get it. None of this stuff matters. No one cares at a gig what you're playing. I get it. People say that all the time online. The audience doesn't care. It drives me crazy because, yeah, they don't. Of course they don't care. Of course the audience doesn't care if I'm playing a $200 Yamaha with a Fishman undersaddle passive pickup, or even more like a sound hole pickup. Of course they don't care. They never have. But I care. This is all for me. Right? I could play a $100 digital pedal through a solid state amp. No one, yeah, as long as you get the sound come out, of course they don't care. But there's that thing that we're all looking for, that be careful because maybe it doesn't even exist. That is the whole reason why there's videos on YouTube, and the reason I'm doing this live stream today. It's because you're looking for that sound. So lately I've been thinking, you know what, if I do a gig and I get paid and I get tipped and I had a good time, take that as a win. Take that as that's good enough. Don't look any more than that. It's only if you play something and you really don't like that thing at all that it's probably the wrong thing for you. Oh, I totally get that, but that drives me crazy because the truth is I could just play a $100 guitar with a sound hole pickup and go out and play, and I really believe that I would still get work. There's no problem. But I'm looking for the rig that I can take out physically and makes me enjoy what I'm doing. And you just have to bear in mind with that there will be trade-offs as well, as with everything in life. Do you use Elixir for electric? No, the truth is I don't restring as much as I used to. I used to restring every week, and lately I don't really restring at all. I haven't put new strings on my electric since it was set up. That's crazy. Or have I? Yeah, I've got some those Slinky Ernie Ball strings, but only because they were given to me and I wanted to use them up. I think I usually use the Dario. I have used Elixir on electric. I might start using Elixir on electric. I might try them again. But yeah, I used to change strings all the time, and now lately I just don't. Yes, I break less strings than I used to. I used to break strings a lot, so I'd restring a lot for that reason. But that's why I like Elixirs lately, because I just put them on and just leave them on there until I change them. I'll only really change strings if I'm doing a review. That's interesting. I'm not an electric guitar player, but the luthier that I use has a 1963 Gibson SG Custom, Les Paul Custom, on consignment for $19.5 grand. Hard to believe an old electric would cost so much. Yeah, well, vintage gear is cool, especially nowadays. A 1963, I mean, that's a golden year. 63 Gibson SG Custom for 19. That's actually, that's probably a good price for something like that. I was looking at vintage Martins for a while, but would you really would you sell all your guitars and buy a $30,000 guitar when you could put $30,000 into your mortgage? That's the question. The Quilter amp is the one I tried, Chalerism. I didn't like it at all, but I wonder if it was the cabinet that I used with it, or that particular amp. I'm not going to be completely down on the brand, because Quilter is who made QSC, and I like QSC quite a lot, but I didn't like it. I'll try some more of them. I won't write it off completely. All this guitar talk just inspired me to get my guitar out and play. Well, I did that before I went live, Lee, and I'll be doing that after, because I've got some songs to learn for a wedding this weekend. An amp is a number of electrical components which react with the input device to create a sound. A Kemper is a number of electrical components that react with the input device to create a sound. Yes, but they do it differently, don't they? We can't deny that. How old's how you doing? I only got the Voyage Air because I can't bring myself to put one of my Martins on a plane on holiday. Yeah. Yeah, well, we'll see, Lee. We'll see. What if you end up playing the Voyage Air more than your Martin? I'm not being mean. I'm just putting that out there. Just food for thought. To me, there's the technical side of gear and the magical side that the player creates. Yeah. Take the Martin warranty. No longer does neck resets. Oh, you mean regarding warranties? No longer does neck resets. Really? I didn't know that. So the warranty doesn't cover a neck reset on a Martin? I thought it would. No, actually, maybe I thought it wouldn't. I don't know. I didn't know. Of course, none of them cover humidity, which is why it's important to humidify your instruments. I don't expect them to cover humidity, but you know, I feel like Fender have an excellent warranty, and I feel like that means they get stuff out the door, and then if there are some issues down the line, they'll just have it taken care of by a local person, which I think is fine. But you got to find people that you trust, because I've had people damage my instruments when they repair them. My name's Joe, if that's easier than saying. Yeah, I find it really hard to say professional procrastinator. I think it's good for my singing, my diction. Professional procrastinator. So when I practice my singing warm-ups, I should do this. Hi, my name's Professional Procrastinator. Professional Procrastinator is my name. Professional Procrastinator has a question. Professional Procrastinator is here today. Professional Procrastinator. Professional Procrastinator. But yeah, Joe would be easier. So I'll call you Joe if you don't mind. Yeah, I can't do it. All right, Joe. I got to remember Joe. Hey, Joe. Like Hendrix. I got it. Joe. Joe and Jim. Good. Chalerism. I find chalerism difficult as well sometimes. Just everything's difficult sometimes. What's the difference between the FG5 and FS5? Did you try the FG5? You know, there's a Chinese made and a Japanese made, and I've tried them both. They're both basically exactly the same. But I prefer the Chinese one, not because it's cheaper, but because the scratch plate is plastic and not wood, and the wooden scratch plate on the Japanese made guitar picks up all the pick noise, and I didn't like that. And yeah, I'll recommend the Chinese made one that I have, 999. Great guitar. My first Martin inspired me, probably improved my playing tenfold. Yeah, if you're inspired to play, you're going to play more, right? The FG is a short scale Dreadnought, FS5 is smaller guitar. Yeah. There's the Dreadnought size, there's the smaller body size, which is like a triple O, and then there's the Chinese made, the Japanese made, and there's the one with electronics, and there's one without electronics, and they're all great. I want to try, what do they call it? The one with the built-in reverb. I want to try that. They just made one with a cutaway. I really want to try it. Shall I reach out to my friends at Yamaha? Well, now I don't connect with the brand. They're not gonna entertain my idea of that, are they? But hey, I'm nothing but honest on my channel. I'm just speaking. All I'm doing is speaking what I'd be sitting here thinking about anyway. Let me just find that guitar. What do they call it? The one with the built-in reverb. Oh man, Trans Acoustic. That's it. Yamaha Trans Acoustic. Sometimes I think this stuff is a bit gimmicky, but I just noticed they made one with a cutaway, and I just thought that was a really cool, interesting thing. And they're quite affordable too, $779. There's the FSC TA and the FGC. So here's the Dreadnought. I'm sure the Dreadnought would be cool because it's a bigger body for that reverb to come out of. And look, this is what it looks like. Look, you get what I mean about price. $779. You ask for a discount. You maybe get a bit cheaper. You buy it used. Imagine if you wait of 6 months and buy this used for like $500, right? And it's just great. The construction is very similar to the red labels that I was talking about. And you've got reverb and chorus. Yeah, it's not got as many effects in it as some of these style of instruments have. And it's a little bit, I don't want to say gimmicky, but you know what I mean? It's not something I'd use all the time. But I bet just as a guitar in its own right, it's worth the money. And then the fact it's got that built-in reverb, if you do like to practice around the house, like fingerstyle, and don't want to plug in all the time, it'd be a nice thing to have. So, I'm not sure if it's solid wood or not. Sometimes oh, here we go. Yeah, solid spruce top. There we go. Solid top. Mahogany back and sides. This is basically the red label I have, but with a cutaway, interestingly enough. So a lot of people are waiting for those red labels to have the cutaway, and they've just done it on this, which makes me think that the red labels are coming next with a cutaway. But yeah, really, really cool. I think if I got one of these, I think I'd probably use it for a few days and then not touch it again. So I'm not going to get one. But I think it's really cool they're doing that. And what I think about Yamaha is they're doing different stuff. They're trying new things all the time. And I think that should be praised, because a lot of companies are not doing that. Okay. If anyone knows the first Podder film where he's in the Magic Wand shop and the guy says, you don't find your wand finds you. That's the same with the guitar. Yeah, I think that. I think that too. Obviously, that's easier when we can go out and play things in person. It's not quite so easy when you're shopping online. Cab choice is huge. A 1x8 is never going to sound like a full stack. No, and on the flip side of that, again, I'm playing devil's advocate a lot today. Sometimes that 1x8 sound is the sound that you want, because it is a more focused sound. Jim, the Yamaha FS is a 1/16 more narrow than the Martin 000 and deeper. Oh, right, this body size, yeah. Yeah, it's not like a 000. It's just a small, I'll just call it a small body guitar. I don't know the exact sizes. I have a Faith Dread, all solid Engman over rosewood, UK design by Egel, made in Indonesia for a few years. Nice. Yeah, Faith guitars. I've heard about them, but I never tried one. So this is interesting. The Tone Master Fenders. I love what they did with it. I love that they just took all the technology just to recreate the amp and not add anything else. And I do want to try one. And if I tried one, I want to try one against the original. So I'd love to try the Tone Master Deluxe versus the Fender Deluxe back to back. But again, I found some videos. I think it was Sam Henning's channel. They sounded great clean, but once he played overdrive and distortion through them, I felt I could hear that solid state thing of the Tone Master. It doesn't distort the same way that the original amp does. Now, maybe it's dangerous to compare them back to back. Maybe that's not even fair to do that. And I should just try the Tone Master by itself and think to myself, well, does it sound good, clean and distorted, or not? Maybe comparing the two things back to back is often dangerous with any gear. But yeah, I'd like to try that. I was gonna reach out to Fender and ask if they could help me do that, like lend me the two to compare them. I think that'd be a great video. It's just difficult because they're big, heavy amps. I don't know if they would do it. Something else is on my list to do. I've got so many videos to do anyway. That's on my list. I have a Compass Series Yamaha that's a great guitar, but when I got my D42 Martin, the world changed. Wow, D42 is a great guitar. Really is a great guitar. I told the sound man more gain, he thumbed up me. I loved it. But later he told me he did nothing. I told sound man more gain. He told me. Oh, right. Can I be honest? I've done that at some gigs. I don't know why I'm talking quiet. I'm talking quietly like people can hear me. But like they'll come up to me at a gig and say, Aaron, the manager will say, Aaron, can you turn it down? The customers behind you, they've requested you turn it down. And I'll say, oh, yeah, sure. And I'll just do this. I won't do anything. I'll just go behind the amp and I might then just back off a bit and play a bit softer and not go for it as much. And then they don't say anything else because they in their mind, I've turned it down. Is that just me, or do you do that as well? Now, sometimes I do turn it down, of course, right? If it's a wedding and they want it to, okay, that's fine. But there has been the odd time where I've kind of just... Then again, in my defense, maybe playing softer and backing off the mic is the same thing as turning it down. So there we go. There was one time I got asked to turn it down, so I just turned it right, almost off. Because I was just in a bad mood. I was like, you want to? Okay, fine. I just turned it right down. And then the manager was like, well, that's too much. It's like, wow. I'd say I didn't think that they would ask me. I never thought that there's a venue would ask you to turn it back up again. I think that was a test that night to see. In the same way we say sometimes that gear doesn't matter, sometimes I feel the same about volume. Like, as long as you're slightly audible, then they'll be happy. It's definitely better to be too quiet at a gig than too loud. I know that. That's a given. I'm saying way too much today. Sounds like I've been drinking whiskey and I haven't. I'm just drinking tea. Lee, I got my Yamaha Fs5 for travel, but it's just better than just a travel guitar. It surprised me. Yeah, I like the folding guitars. I think they're very clever. I always used a mini Maton for my travel guitar, and I kind of miss it. In fact, I might ask Santa Claus to bring me one next year, because I love that mini Maton, and I stupidly sold it to some guy, and that was a fun guitar. It might be a bit too small. I like the fold-up guitars because you fold them up and you unfold them, and then they're like a regular size, where the mini 3/4 size guitars are like a bit like the Martin Backpacker. Everything is smaller, right? So they can be a bit too small, especially when you're 6'5". But it was a good travel guitar. I used to put it under the seat in a plane. So that was great. I think the Martins, the Yamahas have good and bad ones. I think like Martins, the Yamahas have good and bad ones. Yeah. Yamaha, you just got to say their value for money is just off the charts. But again, probably because they have such infinite resources, they have such huge factories, they must buy stuff in bulk and they can keep their costs down, right? I just saw they have a new Keith Urban acoustic Yamaha with a cutaway. You know, it's interesting. When I was at NAMM a couple of years ago, I was talking to my friends from Yamaha, and they said they were working on lessons. Actually, no, I said I was thinking about doing a course, and I'm still thinking about this, so I can generate some income. I was going to do like a beginner's guitar course, and my friend from Yamaha said they were working with a famous person on a guitar course, and it just came out. It's Keith Urban, and they've released a guitar for that as well. I think before they did that, Keith Urban had his own cheaper brand of guitar, and he was doing lessons with that, and then he moved it over to Yamaha. So yes, it's Yamaha today now. FGX 800, 820, 830 series are very much like the red labels with colorway and scallop bracing. Yeah, I do think though, just to add to that, if you're looking for an acoustic electric, then don't oh, there's a fly. If you're thinking of acoustic electric, then definitely consider the red label, because that is a great system. All right. If I was looking for a Yamaha to plug in, I would definitely go for the red label for the pickup. I think that's a very strong reason to get one with the pickup. Or I might wait another 6 months to see if they release one with a cutaway. If I want a cutaway. Some people don't want a cutaway. So, all right, righty-ho. I got to the end of the comments. So I hope you enjoyed that today. I think I'm very excited by these new firmware updates. There's also a firmware update for Kemper as well. Kemper released a firmware update which gives you double tracking, which is cool. They've been very good with firmware updates. Line 6 have been very quiet with their firmware updates, but there's some posts on forums that say they are working on 2 new versions. I think it's 3.20, which goes with a new product, and 3.15, which is like the interim filler firmware before they get to 3.20. I think I got the right numbers. So all these companies are pressing ahead with firmware. I think that's great. And I think there's a new JBL firmware for the speaker that I have out next week as well. So if that comes out, I'll do a video update about that. So firmware now is as important as the hardware, it seems, and that's just the way it's going to be. And yeah, I'm also just really surprised and impressed how much new stuff is coming out, even through a pandemic. You know, it's good, it's encouraging. And I think next year we're going to see loads of stuff come out. Just got a feeling about it. Jim says, Aaron, how to use foot pedals for newbies? Now, what do you mean by foot pedal, Jim? Do you mean like loopers, or do you mean drum pedals, or do you mean effects pedals? Can you be more specific? And Brad Miller, how you doing, Brad? Afternoon, Aaron Shaw. It's a rare day when the sound guys ask you to turn up, but it makes it a great day. They'll always tell you to turn it down. They'll always tell guitarists to turn their amp down, and then as soon as the gig begins, the guitarist will turn the amp up anyway, right? That's just how it works. Yeah, Jim, what kind of foot pedal do you mean? Exactly. I mean, I've thought about doing some videos on looping, for sure. So let me know what you mean. Oh. The time has flown. So if you're new here, please subscribe, ring the bell. I really do appreciate it. I am still planning on doing something when I hit 10K. Definitely have a party of some kind. And I'd like to market somehow as well. I'm just checking my numbers now while I'm waiting for Jim. I see you there, Jim. I'm so close, guys. 9,674. So if you've got any friends that might like this, send them a link to my channel. I'm getting so close. I better start organizing something now because I guess that will happen in a month or so. So I better start planning for that. Jim says loopers, etc. Yeah, I will, definitely. You know, the way I'm trying to structure this now is I got the Monday live stream, the Wednesday live stream, and the Sunday live stream, unless I have a paid gig that I can't say no to. And then the videos throughout the week. I just released one on how to use Restream if you're a streamer. That was a sponsored video. Obviously, I have to do the sponsored videos, of course, you know. I have some gear that I've bought that I really want to talk about because it's great, like the Oxbox. I really want to talk about that. I have some gear that's kind of semi-sponsored that I've got to catch up on that I want to do, and then I've got all these ideas for like lessons and like 3-part videos on looping and different things like that. And it just keeps adding up. And I'm not complaining, but I'm just trying to structure everything. I've got Shallow loaded into the new computer to finish that video as well. So I just got to consolidate everything. So yeah, keep the ideas coming and I'll keep adding them to my list. But looping is one of them. I'm going to be covering that new Boss looper, the RC600, but not for a month or two's time. Maybe I'll try to combine it with that when I do the video on that. But yeah, I'll see. Lee says I'll bring a bottle. A bottle of what, Lee? A bottle of water? I'm going to wrap things up. It's 2:30. The time has flown today, an hour and a half. It's absolutely crazy. Thank you for joining in the chat. It's always interesting where these chats go. They always go off in a completely different direction, which is cool. I want to say thank you because I had a few people send me a coffee this week. I'm going to give them a shout out. I'm just checking the app here. Max Braden bought me 3 coffees. Murph bought me a coffee and said, thank you for the great shows the past week. Thank you, Murph. And Murph has a Cole Clark, so check him out. And David Belcher also. Sorry I missed the live stream on Sunday. I look forward to Monday's show. That's just been. If you missed Monday's show, you can go back and watch that again. Hey, if you missed Sunday's show, you can watch that again as well. So, and if you want to support me, I'll put a link to that here as well. buymeacoffee.com. So I'm going to leave it here. I'm going to wrap things up. There's no Sunday stream this week. I'll be out, but I will be posting some videos, so watch out for those. Subscribe, ring the bell to be notified. As always, have a great week, and I'll see you next live stream. Take care and be well. Bye-bye.
At midnight, wear your high heels, your red dress, and your smile. You'll look just like this other